So the last time we saw Wonder Woman in a game was in Injustice 2. Well, the last time I saw Wonder Woman in a game anyways was in Injustice 2. We got some glimpses and some conversations from emails in Gotham Knights that somewhat refer to other DC characters, but nothing concrete just yet. The Injustice 2 representation and even the Injustice 1 representation of Wonder Woman was quite interesting overall. I thought for a fighting game, because of the way NetherRealms does their games, they'll make a story. They try to build a lore, but with the superhero genre, you really can't surprise your audiences too much. So I guess people had some likes and some dislikes with the whole genre overall in regard to how the story was told. But in the fighting game side, then that's a whole different conversation. Injustice 2 and Injustice 1 really did serve the fighting game community. However, the Wonder Woman game that is actually being developed by Monolith, that's coming pretty soon, made its way into the circuit and the conversation just recently. I know I'm late to the party, but I also want to go ahead and talk about this. So, Lore, this is a Twitter account, posted this particular screenshot of some of the concept art. This is what we think it is, concept art, for Wonder Woman game. Now they got this from a specific, supervisor or a staff at Monolith who seems to be, working with the game, and they used it as a picture on their LinkedIn page for just a little bit. So this is James Philip Gentile or Gentile. I don't know how you say it. I think Gentile is how you probably say it. And he's a senior mocap supervisor and animation support in Monolith Productions. And on his page, he had basically that concept art, and then eventually it got taken down. I don't know where the rest of the picture came, from. So shout out to Lore for actually putting this up. This was very interesting to see other Themyscira soldiers, with their swords and shields. But then we also see someone with a gun. So this is going to be very interesting as to where all of the lore is going to be pulled from and how the game is going to, basically be represented and so on and so forth. And here are my thoughts about all of this so far. I think Warner Brothers is betting on Wonder Woman in a very different way. The responses surrounding games like Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League have been quite lukewarm for the most part. And with this case of Gotham Knights, I think that game was actually a good game. I will stand by it anytime, any day. You can bring your arguments my way. But one thing about games is you can judge them subjectively. I think the developers did a very good job based on what they had to work with overall. And I think they delivered a game that was solid overall. Now, the expectation of the game they delivered, was something that was also kind of misaligned. Fans were looking for something like this, but even though the marketing told them it wasn't going to be like this, they still were looking for something like this in their subconscious. Go read and watch every review. Every review basically said, oh, the Arkham game comparison. So this Monolith game is going to have its own set of paradigms. And I think it's going to be somewhat safe from all of that Arkham comparison, because the developers have worked on their own games. They've done very well with the Middle Earth games and, even the other productions that they've done in the past years. That's the, lens that people are going to look at the Wonder Woman game from. And also the fact that people are craving superhero single, player experiences. And so I think the bet that Warner Brothers probably has on this particular game might be a sound one if they deliver those things that gamers have been looking for a while. It's a very interesting, place to be overall as a fan in the superhero genre, to see the Wonder Woman being the character that's probably going to provide a little bit of relief from what fans have thought as disappointments in the last, iteration of superhero games. And when I say games, I mean, Suicide Squad doesn't come out till next year, but it will come out before the Wonder Woman game, just by the calendar. The game seemingly was almost basically ready by the time they showed it a few months ago. So that should hit the market before the Wonder Woman game. So looking at the Wonder Woman posters, because I want this video to be about, Princess Diana and all that and her lore, it's very cool to see that, she's already taken on the mantle as this warrior princess already here. If you think about, say, the Revelation, when we first saw the reveal at the Game Awards, her mom was basically kind of like, I don't know, it was like almost a coronation in a sense, or like a knighthood type thing, form alliances, do all of this stuff, take down your enemies and so on and so forth. And it appears to me that we're going to have this game in Themyscira. I would love for this to be in Themyscira, because this is going to open up the fictional world that the developers can work with in regard to bringing, just a new environment to, the audiences. That's not going to be constrained by all of the city building and, the destruction systems, because she's a very strong character. This is one that's going to punch an enemy straight into a building and out the other way. But if you have the open, landscape of Themyscira and the open, seascape of Themyscira, then now you can fly, you can fight, and all of the above. So I think this is something that this picture, basically represents. And I'd love to see, the developers actually make good use of that. Another thing too will be the story and the writing. Wonder Woman is one who is already established in the lore, so I'm hoping that they actually just continue to dial into what already has made her special. She's not a character that needs too much to be done. Whomever created the character and wrote, like, her core story and her motivations has already done a very, very good job. She is, a character born and is raised with animosity towards the land of men, but is committed to fighting for the land of men, having seen that the land of men is not necessarily 100% a write-off. That's a very, I don't know where else you would find a good internal conflict for a superhero of her caliber, because that's what you need. You need the internal conflict and you need the external conflict. So with her, there's the internal conflict that they've layered over, different iterations. And then there's the external conflict as well, with even some of her closest, allies, and even some of her close enemies. And I say close enemies because she's had different layers of relationships with them, like like Cheetah, and Cheetah just has a weird relationship with her. She has a lot of compassion for Cheetah, but Cheetah is kind of far gone depending on what you're reading, depending on what you're watching. So these are really interesting aspects to it. Another thing too is the movies, in regard to how things are going. I don't necessarily know if we're gonna get like some kind of a I don't know, intersection with some of the movie ideas and so on and so forth. I don't know how that's going to give the game any benefit, or how the game is going to give the movies any benefit. I still think for the Wonder Woman movies, the first one is still the better of all of them so far, all her representations. I have that first one on digital, and I thought it was actually a pretty good movie. The other one, Wonder Woman 1984, I wasn't a fan of that one. I don't know why. And then Justice League was decent with her performance with Gal Gadot. I think she did a good job anyways. But it wasn't like the blow you out of the water type, superhero that, I would have expected. But what I see in the comics, what I've seen in the video games, what I've seen in other media, have been very convincing overall. So I don't know if that's actually going to be able to make its way, down this video game. But I'm really hoping the best for Monolith, because they're a very gifted studio overall. They've done a good job in their other games. And I hope that they can provide a representation of Wonder Woman that's actually memorable after, time passes, because if you think about what Rocksteady was able to do with Batman, they were able to basically stamp that memory of a superhero video game across everything with just the quality that they put in. And Monolith has the opportunity to do something like that with this superhero, and I'm hoping that they actually do it. Because again, if every time we talk about Marvel Spider-Man, which is currently the most popular superhero video game right now, we talk about the Arkham games side by side with them. So I'm hoping that we can see some of those things make their way into the conversation when Wonder Woman is pretty much etched into the whole conversation. But that's pretty much my take on this so far. I will be happy to talk a little bit more about this. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Thanks for watching. Peace out.